Take a listen to this. I don't really need to keep playing it, and I know a majority of you guys know exactly how the rest of it goes. So, why is this melody, and every other melody in the game, just so catchy? What makes this music so good? Nintendo has a thing with music. I think we can all agree that they make some absolute bangers for each and every game they've made. Look back at the original NES, where they were so limited on sound output. They achieved what is probably one of the most recognizable tunes in the history of gaming. Something so simple, yet good, that manages to get stuck in our heads. Their melody is so simple, yet so memorable even 40 years later. Another thing to remember is that Nintendo's games are never the same. You could be playing an RPG, and next thing you know, you're playing a platformer. Next, you're playing a party game, and then after you're bowling with your friends. There's so much variety in what you play that realistically, it's a feat in its own that Nintendo is able to encompass such emotion into each and every one of their songs. This mastering of musical setting is what translates so well into Mario Kart. Every aspect of the game is riddled with personalized music that works so well with what's being shown on screen. Not only is the music catchy, but it varies a lot too. You go from jazz fusion to big band, archaic to breakcore, folklore to jungle drumming. How can this be in the same game as this? Without any context, it really shouldn't. Two completely different genres that seem to have no relation to each other, but are in the same game. It's paradoxical, and yet it works. The main point I think I'm trying to get here is that Nintendo perfectly encompasses what a track should sound like. Take it back to Peach Gardens, for example. Without seeing the track, you can already imagine what would be a playful and bright-looking setting. Somewhere that you shouldn't take completely seriously, like a light stroll in the park. Somehow, even though the music is composed of very simple instruments and melody, it manages to relay a setting before we even set foot inside the track. It gives us context before we even see what the track holds. For a game to present so much information and character is what I think makes each track so memorable. You don't find the same thing copy and pasted over to the next track. They're also individualistic, that every race is a new experience in a completely different setting. Now take a look at the track Moonview Highway. By the fast-paced intro alone, you'll already know that this track is going to be tough. It's a mix of synth, piano, and drums. The melody actually repeats a majority of the length of the music, yet it doesn't actually seem to bore down any time. It keeps its fast-paced tempo up that really the only way I can describe it is just plain groovy. It fits so perfectly for the setting of a bustling nighttime cityscape with its head-bopping drumming and melody. Another example that I have to add is Dry Dry Ruins. Just take a look at its intro. You cannot say that intro is not at least a little groovy, right? It's the way that they managed to incorporate every instrument so seamlessly into one coherent entrance that states energy in every note. Again, they perfected the encapsulation of settings into music, and this one shows. Not only does it use the pentatonic scale, for all you music nerds out there, but it emulates traditional instruments throughout the song to further push the idea of where you are. These simple yet effective techniques help build a world around you, which is why each and every song becomes so memorable even after 15 years. Another thing that you don't see often in many games is the incorporation of music in almost every aspect of the game. Take the Mario Kart channel menu for example. This is where you can see your stats and tournament info, as well as ghosts and ranking among other racers. Really, unless you were a hardcore player, you usually wouldn't be on this channel for too long. Yet, they made a full song just for a few minutes you might be there. It's undeniable that even for something that doesn't really need music at first glance, it adds to the game in so many ways. There's even music in the options menu for crying out loud. Every aspect of the game is littered with some of the best video game music imaginable, and a lot of you won't even hear for more than a minute. Another good example of this is the Wi-Fi menu when you're playing online. It starts with an echoing, seemingly repetitive motif. After a while though, out of nowhere the drums kick in, and you hear as it builds on its own into something that shouldn't be this good. This amount of effort into their music purely for loading screens is something that I find almost unimaginable in any other game company. It's the little details that really stick out to me when not only are your main themes perfected, but it's everything else that tops the cake for me. I think another big factor of what makes the music in game coincide so well is the fact that they incorporate older tracks as well. I always get hit by a wave of nostalgia whenever I hear the old Shy Guy Beach track. It's so simple yet reminiscent of something that I haven't played in a long time. These revamped throwbacks of tracks in the game just make it so much better. It's not much, but it's something that I enjoy to remember whenever I turn the game on. Something obscure that I really like in just about any song of the game is the amazing bass line. It's kind of hard to hear in game with all the sound effects going on, but take a listen to Toad's Factory for a second. Now, it may be hard to hear, but some of the interplay is just so well written. Or take a look at this part in Coconut Mall. Even though it's just a small piano run, it fits so well and adds so much to the game. Actually, just listen to this part of Moonview Highway. You can't tell me that's just some simple video game music and shrug it off. Again, with the tiny details, but somehow it works so beautifully for what should be the least of your concern. Really, it's hard to explain what exactly makes the music of Mario Kart Wii, and really any other Nintendo game, so good. It's both a mix of well thought out environmental interpretation, as well as just some great music writing. It's something so iconic that 15 years later, we still are making memes, edits, and videos about this quote-unquote old game. Mario Kart holds a place in my heart not just for the memories of playing with friends, but for the expertise in creating every aspect of it, and that's what I think makes this music so good.